an American convoy of over 700,000 people is expected to head from different parts of the United States down towards the Texas border. Now, this is going to create a lot of controversy. This is also going to create a lot of problems, not just for the United States, but for President Biden himself. Now, there's millions and millions of people that are standing strong with Texas, that support Texas, that support our constitutional rights, that support the United States. Now, the problem with this is going to put Texas and those people up against the United States government, up against some in the Supreme Court, and this is what some are saying is going to be the beginning of a civil war. Now, I'm going to explain what's going on as of today. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of movement, a lot of pushback from the Biden administration and from former President Donald Trump himself. We're going to address all those stories coming up. All I ask is one thing. Takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. If you turn on the news, you are going to see things like hashtag defend Texas, hashtag block the invasion, defend the invasion. All these things are popping up because the American people are now feeling the effects and struggling because of all the people coming into the United States. I said this before, I will continue to say this until we see some type of resolution, but the states that are going to be impacted the most, there's Illinois, there's New York, Colorado, Washington State, Oregon, California, and then obviously Texas. Texas is the one that's being hit the hardest initially, but then all the people coming in are spreading out. The problem is they're going to cities and states that do not have the resources to house them, to feed them, and to make sure they're healthy. This is why some are saying that we need to stop this invasion immediately. Just look at this. This is an article from Fox News as of today. It says, Biden is wrong. Texas has every right to defend against the invasion, according to state attorney generals. That's what they're telling the White House. Well, a group of 26 attorney generals are defending Texas. They're defending Governor Greg Abbott and saying that he has all the right to protect his state against an invasion because the United States is not doing it. Well, that's exactly what President Biden has said. But the White House is pushing back as well. And the White House is demanding that Speaker Mike Johnson give President Biden the authority and funding to secure the border. I want to touch on this a little bit because this is something that Speaker Mike Johnson was completely for. Just look at this. It says, until recently, Speaker Mike Johnson advocated for H.R. 2 because, in his view, presidents needed new legal authorities in order to secure the border. What's more, the Trump administration argued the same with the full-throated endorsement of then Congressman Mike Johnson. They go on to say, if Speaker Johnson continues to believe, as President Biden and Republicans and Democrats in Congress do, that we have an imperative to act immediately on the border, he should give his administration the authority and funding we're requesting to secure the border. Here's the problem. Even if Speaker Mike Johnson wanted to secure the border, the issue that he is facing is Republicans in the House have a one-vote majority. Because of all the people that have walked away, that have taken on new positions, or simply retired, the Republican Party has a one-vote majority in the House of Representatives. This is turning into a problem. So even if Speaker Mike Johnson put a bill on the floor, there's a good chance that bill would not pass anyway. There would probably not be enough Republicans that would vote in favor of a bill that Democrats want done. Again, it comes down to what is happening at the end of this year. There's no election, a presidential election, a major election, where by the looks of it, as of today, it's going to be former President Donald Trump against President Biden again. Now, who their your running mates will be, that we don't know, But what we know at this time is it's going to be another heated end of the year, another heated debate. It's going to be huge. Now, here's where President Biden says we have to get rid of all the politics. We need to move that aside. Politics aside, we have to secure the border. It's not safe. We need to do something now. President Biden says that we just need to give him the legal authority to shut down the border if it does become overrun and we see this massive invasion. Well, here's the problem. The invasion has already happened. There's already millions of people here in the United States that are here illegally. Some say we're at about 11 million people. Those numbers, according to other reports, are completely false. And I know a lot of people here can't believe what our government's saying. Can't believe when people give us certain numbers. It's like, how are they counting these things? For example, inflation. How do they count inflation? Because, some people say that instead of CPI, which is the inflation report, they call it CP-lie because it's always false. And they always go back and revise it. Well, according to a recent study, they're saying that there's over 22 million people illegally here in the United States. So the Biden administration is giving us pretty much a 50% number. Interesting. But President Biden says that he will shut down the border. Okay? He will shut down the border if a deal gives him authority. Here's the problem. If President Biden gets this bill, not only is he getting the authority to shut down the border, it's going to make it, and this is from a Republican standpoint, Republicans are going to say that, well, we just gave President Biden a win. Because now he's saying, he can shut down the border if we see that the numbers are too high. There's 5,000 people entering the United States on a daily basis over the course of 1 week. He'll shut down the border, no problem. Here's the issue. It gives the Department of Homeland Security the authority to determine if somebody is outside of that scope, where they are being threatened in their country. There's some issues in their country, so we are going to grant them asylum. So they won't count as an illegal immigrant. Okay, so we take off those people from that number. This is where what Republicans are concerned with is they're just going to change the verbiage and change the ruling as to who is considered an illegal immigrant. President Biden and the Biden administration have done that before with inflation. Okay, they've done that before with the exact definition of a recession. A recession used to be 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. Then they changed it. They changed the definition of a recession to meet the Biden policies. So Republicans say, we cannot support this. We cannot back President Biden, give him a win just so he can go and change the law, change the policies, just to fit his agenda. They can't do it. Well, this is where former President Donald Trump steps in again and says that the border deal being used is to put the disaster onto Republican shoulders. Because guess what happens? If there's a bipartisan bill and Republicans and Democrats both support this, or some do, all it takes is for one party to put the responsibility on the other and say that, well, Republicans agreed to this bill. This was a good bill in their eyes. We did exactly what they wanted, and now we're still seeing this as a problem. This is where former President Donald Trump is saying that, well, let's just leave things as it is. Let's just leave the border as it is. Look at this. This is what he wrote on Truth Social. He says, a border bill is not necessary to stop the millions of people, many from jails and mental institutions located all over the world, that are pouring into our country. It is an invasion the likes of which no country has ever had to endure. It is not sustainable or affordable and will, under crooked Joe Biden, only get worse. Goes on to add, I had the safest and most secure border in U.S. history. I didn't need a bill. They are using this horrific Senate bill as a way of being able to put the border disaster onto the shoulders of the Republicans. The Democrats broke the border. They should fix it. No legislation is needed. It's already there. He's simply saying, you do not need a bill. You can go and change your policies. You can go and bring back things like the Remain in Mexico. Okay, you can go and clamp down on asylum seekers. You can do all this stuff. But here's where things are getting more intense, is as they are talking about this bill, there are other states and other governors that are saying, we are going to stand with Texas. We are going to support you, Texas. Whatever you need, you have our support. You need some of our National Guard, we're there for you. Or, right now, the fight is over the Texas razor wire. He says, Governor Greg Abbott says he will continue to add more razor wire along the U.S. southern border if that's what it takes to protect Texas and the rest of the United States. Well, guess what? Some have come out and said, well, you are just going against the Supreme Court. Where others are saying that no, the Supreme Court never said Texas couldn't install razor wire. That's not what they said. The Supreme Court stated that the United States government, okay, or Border Patrol agents have the right to go and cut the razor wire in an event they need to save or protect somebody. That's it. So in an emergency situation, they have the legal authority. They can cut the razor wire, they can get through, they can save, they can do whatever they need to do. But do they have the legal authority just to cut the razor wire and remove it? No. They only have the authority to cut it and remove it in an emergency situation. So that's where things really start to change, because now, according to the Biden administration, they should just remove everything. But when you look at it, according to reports, when you look at what the Supreme Court is telling them, they do not have the legal authority. So again, it comes back down to he said versus he said. And who's going to win that battle? Well, we're going to find out soon enough. All I can tell you is these talks of a potential civil war, they keep heating up. Now, do I think we are going to get into a civil war? Most likely not. Because this would be horrible. This would be just horrific for the Biden administration. But could it happen? Absolutely. But this is only going to make the American people not trust the current administration. Things are only going to go from bad to worse. So as we get more information, I promise I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.